I just wanted to share a few thoughts regarding Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I'm thinking primarily about the 1978 version, which is my favorite, but these observations could apply more or less to all its different iterations. The movie tells the story of an alien invasion of planet Earth that comes in the form of plant life. The title sequence depicts this process and also serves as a demonstration of panspermia, the hypothesis that life did not originate on Earth but traveled from somewhere else in the galaxy. The seedlings grow into large pods, which eventually give birth to pod people, exact duplicates of individual humans who are simultaneously replaced. What differentiates these newly formed pod people from the originals is a distinct lack of human emotion. Passion, joy, anger, sadness, the capacity for empathy or love is apparently absent as well. The horror in the film stems from the changes in the behavior of friends and loved ones, at first subtle, and then very noticeable, to the point where they seem to be completely different people.
My wife, sick.
What's wrong with her?
She wrong.
She's not right?
That not my wife.
It's a bit like this man's feelings about his wife after she'd been taking Prozac for a couple of years.
Has it worked? You look very dubious, my friend.
Apparently it has. I can't help being suspicious of it. I don't think she's the woman I married.
Why?
I think she's changed.
In what way?
I don't know, but there's something there that is different.
Okay, she's not the woman you married. Is she a better woman?
No, she's different.
The invasion is quick and quiet and seemingly unstoppable, as the pod people soon outnumber us regular folks. The fact that the takeover is not as plainly obvious as a zombie apocalypse makes it possibly more disturbing. It's a powerful illustration of a primal existential fear, that of increasingly isolated individuals becoming subsumed by a menacing collective other. And the story's different iterations have touched upon a variety of others to be afraid of. Communists, cults, government conspiracies, each threat reflecting a particular concern from a given time period. Looking at Invasion of the Body Snatchers through a contemporary lens, I think it's possible to see it as an allegory about a world that seems to be quickly losing its mind. Despite statistics that show a slight decline in violent crime, polls show that most Americans believe that it's actually getting worse. Maybe it's the senselessness and randomness of these pervasive news stories that are creating this heightened sense of danger. A feeling that anywhere, at any moment, someone, anyone, might snap and do something horrific. This feeling is coupled with an escalating tribalism, aggravated by socio-political pressures both real and imagined, that forces us to scapegoat others as brainwashed zombies, or sheeple, or pod people. Superimposing Invasion of the Body Snatchers on these present-day concerns over mental health and social fragmentation, the pod people represent both a rising tide of collective insanity and the fear of insanity, two conditions that overlap and can become nearly indistinguishable. The key to all this is the idea that the pod people only come to life when humans fall asleep. This sleep is analogous to being unconscious of what psychoanalyst Carl Jung called the shadow self, where the repressed aspects of our personalities stay hidden. According to Jung, when an individual fails to acknowledge and integrate their personal shadow into their conscious life, they can be overtaken by the collective shadow, which encompasses repressed aspects of entire societies, and which explains how apparently normal people can be swept up into an episode of mass psychosis. Falling asleep and becoming a pod person makes for a perfect metaphor.
Wake up.
Although the body snatchers represent mass psychosis quite nicely, there's actually not anything visibly psychotic about their behavior. As terrifying as they are on a psychological level, they aren't violent, or crazed, or destructive, or anything. In fact, from a certain standpoint, they're being entirely reasonable.
But what happens to us?
You'll be born again into an untroubled world, free of anxiety,
fear, hate.
Forcibly injecting people with sedatives notwithstanding, what Spock is saying here makes a whole lot of sense. Sure, emotions are part of what makes us human, but they're also what makes us crazy when we surrender to them. Maybe the body snatchers are onto something. Maybe they're actually the next step up in evolution. Or maybe it's a regression back to our non-emotional vegetable origins.
I can't understand why you've become so emotional about a little flower.
The 2019 film, Little Joe, another story about plants and personality changes, observes the fear and paranoia that underlies the body snatcher's narrative and considers if it all amounts to nothing more than the fear of change.
Of course, it's a pity you feel bad now, but that's just because you're not one of us.
Not yet. There's nothing for you to be afraid of. You won't notice. It's like being dead. You don't notice you're dead, do you?
Good comparison.
Tragic news tonight is
the 2007 take on the body snatcher's tale, The Invasion, offers more clearly stated arguments in favor of an alien takeover.
See what's happening here, what we're offering? A world without war, without poverty, without murder, without rape. A world without suffering. Because in our world, no one can hurt each other or exploit each other or try to destroy each other, because in our world there is no other.
The response to this argument is typically human. The body snatchers in this highly flawed version are not pods, but are instead a virus, a fairly obvious analogy for social contagion, a term which itself is already an analogy. The invasion is successful, and the result is world peace. But in a twist ending, a vaccine is created, and the human race reverts back to its normal violent ways, making the whole of humanity a bit like Alex at the end of A Clockwork Orange.
I was cured, all right.
Human evolution, nurtured by benevolent aliens, is better represented in other works, such as The Day the Earth Stood Still, or the Arthur C. Clarke novel, Childhood's End, which, unlike the Body Snatcher movies, deal with overcoming the fear of change. But as long as we remain anxious individuals, struggling to maintain our identities amid alarming social transformations, Invasion of the Body Snatchers will continue to resonate. Thanks for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay woke.